I love old anime. From the art styles, to the music, to the stories, there's just so much stuff that's unique about 80s and 90s anime that I can't help but appreciate how great those decades were. And I'm not even talking about the classics. There are some anime shows and movies that I think about all the time, but I almost never see anyone talk about them, even though they're so good. Shadow Skill, Gokudo, Blood Rain, anime like these are probably considered obscure today and aren't ever watched by most anime fans now, but I think they're some of the best retro animes that still hold up pretty well today. All of them have solid animation quality, decent story plots, and characters that you can easily get invested in. So if you've been feeling exhausted by modern anime, I highly recommend starting your retro anime journey with these 3 gems. At least one of them will capture you with their unique charm, and if you're still on the fence, I bet that by the end of this video, I'll have convinced you to at least give one of them a shot. There's just one issue. I watched all of these as a kid and haven't watched them since. Now I know what you're thinking. How can anybody convince the internet to trust their memories back from when they just barely learned the answer to 9 plus 10?
21.
And I'll admit, my taste in anime as a kid wasn't the greatest at the time. I mean, for God's sake, I liked Naruto back then. But yeah, I vividly remember a good amount of the old anime I used to watch, so hopefully my thoughts on them are pretty accurate to what they actually are. For instance, I remember most of Gokudo pretty well because I rewatched it so many times as a kid. And yeah, just like every old anime, it is a little crusty with its video and audio quality, but the world and characters in it are so fun that you can't help but love them in their various dynamics. I mean, it's basically Konosuba without the isekai. You got a fantasy world, a selfish anti-hero, their dysfunctional group of friends, and a bunch of misadventures that lead to great comedy moments. Even its 90s art style enhances comedic effects similar to Konosuba by allowing its characters to make some of the most ridiculous expressions and movements that'll guarantee you to at least crack a smile. And, in case you need a song sung by the characters from the show, check out this bop. Now, Gokudo was released in 1999, which is probably why I remember it so well. On the other hand, Blood Rain Curse of the Yoma was released in 1989, and I was very much born after that time, so I probably didn't even realize that what I was watching was called anime when I first saw it. Hell, I didn't even know its name until a couple years ago when I was finally able to find it on Google. Old anime where girl gets stomped on by horse. Yes, that is exactly how I found it. Apart from being traumatized from that one scene, the one reason why I remembered this anime was because of the art. Obviously, I wasn't able to understand what was happening because it was in Japanese and I could barely read the subtitles, let alone comprehend the story. But even as a child, I was drawn in by how beautiful some scenes looked. Like, this series is actually really dark and gory, but all I remember as a kid were calm scenes with the characters out in nature or just talking. Which probably bored my child mind, so that might explain why I missed the fighting and gore. But if those moments of beauty are any accurate representation of what kind of effort was put into the story, then I think Blood Rain has the potential to at least be an entertaining watch. The same goes for Shadow Skill Eigi. Even though this show came out in 1998, I only remember the bare basics of the story. You got a strong fighter lady with her adopted brother using cool powers and chants to beat their opponent. So obviously, my child mind only cared about the awesome fight scenes, but anything deeper within the lore was lost on me. Except the term vagabond. For some reason, the term vagabond just stuck with me ever since I learned it from this anime. But yeah, the fight scenes in this show are really exciting if you're into the tropes of martial arts and magic anime, because that's essentially what this show is. A campy martial arts anime that takes place in a fantasy world. And as generic as that sounds, that's the reason why this anime is so good. Even though the animation and sound design outside the fights are solid, the most memorable parts of this entire anime are the fight scenes. Because it's when the music begins to swell, when the characters put all their might into their chants, and when each second of animation is at its highest, that you get drawn in, until finally you see the move that ends it all. So even if you just watched the first episode, the fight scenes and animation will at least keep your attention and leave you satisfied enough that you won't regret watching it. And if you're still skeptical, try saying no to this banger. Thanks for watching this video. I know there are plenty of wonderful retro animes that exist, but these three are the ones I admire most from my childhood, so I hope I was able to get you interested in at least one of them. And if I did, let me know which one you watched and what your thoughts are. Knowing me, my memory is trash, so if these shows are actually bad, feel free to roast me down in the comments as well. But that's it from me, so I'll see y'all around.